I remember the very first day I came to Turkey. In the airport, I met a Chinese guy. We had come in the same plane, but we met in the airport. And surprisingly, we were going to the same dormitory. So there was a senior who had come to pick us, and he was going to take us to the dormitory. So while waiting in the lobby to get our documents processed and to get our photocopies, we were told to sit, we were offered to sit down by a Turkish man. And there were two chairs there, so I sat and the Chinese friend also sat. And when he sat, he rested his back and then crossed his legs, I guess due to the tiredness. And the Turkish man just directly opposite us was like, no, he was speaking in Turkish, At that time, we didn't understand. He was trying to tell the Chinese friend not to cross his legs with his hand gestures. We eventually understood. And then he uncrossed his legs. So the senior who had come to pick us from the airport was telling us that, oh, here it is considered disrespectful to sit with your legs crossed in front of an adult. That was the very first experience. So that's number one. In this video, I want to tell you 8 different things, 8 different Turkish cultures that I found really surprising or shocking or interesting, and I want to share them with you in this video. The aim of learning about culture shocks is to appreciate new ways of thinking, to appreciate new ways of living, and get to assimilate yourself and avoid misunderstandings and getting into problems. So I hope this video will help you achieve just that. According to Wikipedia, culture shock is defined as an experience a person may have when one moves to a cultural environment which is different from one's own. So it's an experience. It may be good, it may be bad. It is also the personal disorientation a person may feel when experiencing an unfamiliar way of life, due to a visit to a new country, a move between social environments, or simply transition to another type of life. So basically, you see something new and you're like, oh wow, interesting. Or you're like, oh, how come this is done here? There are 2 different reactions to it, and these are some of the things I want to share in today's video. Now, on that same day, on the very first day I got to Turkey, just after we had finished up in the dormitory and all that, we went out in the evening. We wanted to buy a SIM card. We wanted to, just see around and then take some pictures. Yeah, new country, you have to post on Instagram. All those vibes were there. So we stepped out, and the place we went to was Kizilay. I'm based in Ankara. Kizilay is like the city center. I just, studied, looked right, looked left. It was like, oh, almost everyone is smoking here. Like, it was so shocking to me. Like, how come this number of people are smoking? Wouldn't believe it. Because where I come from, if you want to smoke, smoking is not even done. Like, for those who want to smoke, you do it in hiding. If you want to smoke in public, you have to go to the back of a wall or something and do your stuff. It's totally against the norms of the society. Now, according to Oberg's 4 phases model, there are 4 different stages of cultural shock. So there's the honeymoon stage, there's the negotiation stage, there's the adjustment stage, and there's the adaptation stage. To perfectly explain the 3rd stage, I want to mention the 3rd cultural shock that I faced. Turkish chai. Chai means tea, so Turkish tea. What I found shocking with this was how much it is consumed. During my internship recently, the first thing I noticed in the morning is that these men are holding their cups, their glass of tea, glass of chai, and then they're like greeting each other. You can imagine a Turkish man just about to enter his office. He has gone to get his chai and is greeting the others like, good morning, how was your night? Good night, Dean. So that's how they start the day, literally. Several times during the day, you may see chai on their table as well. You would see a glass of tea on their table. After dinner, they have dessert, and the best thing to have with dessert is Turkish chai. It's so surprising how much it is consumed. So that was really shocking to me. And why it was especially shocking is because the taste is not exactly sweet. It's kind of bland. Should I say almost bitter, between bitter and bland? I don't know how to describe it. It's really different, So I'm like, how do you just continuously have this throughout the entire day? It was really surprising. But then if you look at me now, I'm just so used to drinking chai too. Yeah, I've become okay. Yeah, so that was really interesting. After spending like 4 years here, you get to adapt. You see it as something interesting. And even when someone offers me chai, I don't reject anymore. It's like, oh, Tabi, Olo, yeah, it would be nice to have some. Okay, number 4 is looking down in a conversation. Where I come from, when you're speaking to someone way older than you, to show some respect, you don't look directly into their face. You don't look at them directly. You kind of tilt your head a little bit, in such a way that they know you're listening to them, but you're also paying respect to them. So, however, here, when I was doing my internship last year, I was discussing with, should I say, one of the head of the department, and when he was, telling me some things, I also, had that form with my head tilted down a bit. And then he was like, are you not listening to what I'm saying? Do you find my talk boring or something? And I was like, oh no. He asked me why I wasn't looking directly at his face, and I explained to him that, oh, it's my way, it's our way of showing respect. So it was like, oh, here it's considered disrespectful. Rather, it's like you don't want to hear what they have to say. You want to get done with it as soon as possible and just move on to something else. Maybe you find it boring. So it was really interesting, and I'm very glad that he let me know that. And since then, when I'm speaking with a Turkish person, I just look directly into their face. So that's a very good tip if you are new here. And let me know, is this something also similar to your culture? In your culture, do you kind of look down when speaking to elders, or is looking down considered disrespectful? Please leave a comment below. I'm really curious about this. And if you're enjoying this video, a sub to the channel would be much appreciated. Okay, number 5 is traditional greetings. I'm sure if you are already in Turkey, especially for the new students that just came, you must have noticed how the men greet and how the women greet. So for the men, it's like you shake hands, and then this hand is behind the other person's back or shoulders, and then you kind of make contact slightly with the head on the right and on the left. And for the women, it's most likely like a peck on the cheek from the right and from the left too. So really interesting. That was something I found really interesting, like, oh, this is cool. Number 6, this one is for Muslims per se, because I want to talk about the mosque. So I was really surprised when I went there one day and I tried to put my legs together with a Turkish person beside me. So when I put my leg right next to his, he just moved a bit. I moved again, it just moved a bit. There's so many interpretations that could go on in my head at that time. So I was like, what's going on? So when I got back to the dorm, I told my friend that this is what happened, and he was telling me that, oh, here you don't really find that they put their legs together like this. There's just a little gap between, and then the shoulders touch, and even for some, the shoulders do not touch sometimes. There's a difference between the understanding and the ulama on how this can be carried out, and so there is no problem. So when you come here, if you are used to putting your feet together and you don't find them doing that, or you try to and the person moves away, don't worry, it's totally fine. Don't think they're racist towards you. Don't think they don't like you. Don't think they don't want to join legs with someone not of their color. So it's totally fine. It is a different understanding here, and Allah will accept the prayer. So, and one last thing about the mosque is continuously hearing the adhan. Something I really appreciate. Like, you would never miss prayer out of forgetfulness, I would say. Yeah, you are constantly reminded that, okay, the time has come, it's time to pray. Mashallah, one of the best things you can enjoy in Turkey. Now, for these two, I understand the Christians ask. A lot of people ask me on Instagram, and that brings me to the last point. So what surprised me here, really surprised me, is how secular some environments are, or some states are. So I'm in Ankara. Ankara is pretty much like Istanbul, in terms of how people dress, how people behave, how secular it is, how diverse it is. Before coming, I had this assumption, and so many people have this assumption, that Turkey is a Muslim country, so the way people dress there is different. Everybody wears the hijab, everybody wears long clothes, there are no short dresses and all that. But upon coming here, when I got here, I was totally shocked. It was that same day I saw how many people were smoking, that I saw how many people were dressed totally differently. Like, it wasn't any different from an European country. That was the first thought. I was like, oh, I'm not in Turkey, I'm in Europe, That was the thought that came to my head. So for those who are Christians and are worried about assimilating to the culture or, blending into the culture here in Turkey, I think you wouldn't find it any different. Like, I come from Lagos, where it's a total mix of Muslims and Christians, and that is just the same feeling here. Yeah, so that was really, really shocking to me, and I think this answers the question of, oh, will the Azan voices disturb me? Will I be able to live peacefully as a non-Muslim or that? Don't worry, it's no problem at all. Now, there are some cities that are quite conservative. I've been to Konya, and I can say that it's a more conservative city, quite different from Ankara. And you can see that, okay, here the way people dress are really different. It's more Islamic, but still, when you go to the city center or some areas too, you would find something similar to an environment in Istanbul or Ankara. Antalya, Aydin, Izmir, Istanbul, Ankara, the popular cities, the big cities, they are all, should I say, secular, open. And even by law, I mean, according to the government, Turkey is a secular country. So I think that explains everything. It's not an Islamic country, it's rather a secular country. However, most of them are Muslims. Yes. The aim of learning about culture shocks is to appreciate new ways of thinking, to appreciate new ways of living, and get to assimilate yourself and avoid misunderstandings and getting into problems. So I hope this video will help you achieve just that. If you're new to Turkey, if you're just coming, or if you're planning to come anytime soon, make sure you watch this video, and also another video I recommend by Travel Comic. She mentioned 18 different culture shocks that are very, very surprising. Yeah, I think you'd also benefit a lot from that. All right, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.